Hello, welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Wednesday, March 21st, 2018, and this is episode 53. My name is Carol, and I'm known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry. The show notes for this and every episode can be found on the blog and also in the episode thread in the Ravelry group. If you have any questions, by all means drop me a line on Ravelry or leave a comment on YouTube, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So welcome everyone to this beautiful spring day here in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia. Yes, it was the first day of spring yesterday. I think some of us thought it was never going to come, and I think there are plenty of you out there who still think it's not going to come. I know it's been quite a bit of wintry weather in the east lately, but hang in there. Spring is on its way. It always comes. It just seems to some years take longer than others. And of course, in the southern hemisphere, you're heading into fall. So those are my two favorite seasons. I like the more moderate weather, and I like the new flowers, new growth in the spring, and I love the beautiful fall colors in the autumn. So we're heading into one of my favorite seasons. A little bit discombobulated today. I've had lots going on, and so I'm sitting down to record quite a bit later than I prefer. It's already mid-afternoon, so I'm going to try and get through this fairly quickly so I can get it edited and uploaded, hopefully before the end of the day today. I do have a few knitting projects to talk about, and first of all, though, I want to announce the winner of our latest giveaway. So if you've been watching, you know that Treva, who is TP Mom on Ravelry, she sent me these two skeins of Chick Ashby yarn. Her friend has recently begun dyeing, and her yarns can be found at chickashby.com. So Treva said one skein was for me and one was for you. So as you know, I had a giveaway thread open in the Ravelry group, so I closed that just before I recorded. And so there were 23 entries. So I put number 2 through 24 in the random number generator because I was post number 1. And it chose number 10, which is Quilter from Silver Springs, Maryland. So congratulations, Quilter. She wrote, "Hi Carol, I like the Berrylicious." That was from the website. "I've been wanting to do something in purples. If I was lucky enough to win, I would choose Oceans Deep. Thank you for another giveaway opportunity." So this skein of Oceans Deep will be on its way to Quilter. And thank you again to Treva for the giveaway opportunity. Really appreciate your support of the podcast. So I'm going to keep this beautiful blue sugar colorway, and we'll make something very special out of it. So once again, thanks so much for all of you who took the time to go to chickashby.com and look at her yarns, and thank you Treva for giving us this opportunity for winning this beautiful yarn. So thank you. I'm just going to show her card one more time because I think it's really pretty. Okay, I need a sip of tea. All right, first project you have seen before. They are the socks that I'm knitting out of Storytime Fibers. Once Upon a Sock in the Titania colorway. And I think when I showed them last, I was just working my way down the legs. And I have since added complementary heels to the socks. So let's see here. So there's sock number 1 and sock number 2. And I just went looking in my sock yarn leftovers, and I found this skein of green yarn that I thought went really well. And this was some leftovers from a Tree Hugger's Wife soft sock in the asparagus colorway, and I bought that skein when I was in Alaska in I think it was Juneau a few years ago. So nice to be able to use a little more of it in here, and I think these are working up rather nicely. they're just my, go-to project when I need something kind of not completely mindless, but something I don't have to think about a lot. So there we go, coming along well. And I've got it in this bag I made for myself, very spring-like with the birds and the flowers on it. And I think these, I'm not sure. I want to say these are magnolias, but I'm not sure if that's right. Okay. Stay put so it doesn't fall. So I'm trying to think what I should talk about next. Oh, I know. I wanted to just show you very quickly that I blocked my hero, and it blocked out really nicely. And I know I was talking last week about how I had done the color work, or the end of round in the center back, and how I felt it looked quite wasn't that noticeable. Now it's interesting because when I look in the camera, I can see the little sort of change here, but when I look at it in real life, I really have a hard time seeing it. So in general, I'm very happy with how this turned out. I still need to get some FO pictures up on Ravelry, but very pleased with that sweater. So I had finished that sweater, and all I had going really actively were the socks I just showed you. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to work on next. Now I had ordered some yarn from Blacker Yarns. One of the things I ordered was another color I wanted to put into my Birkin. And another was a sweater's worth of yarn that I wanted to knit a cardigan out of. But I needed something to work on in the meantime. And last time I ordered from there, it took, I think, almost a month to get here from England. Pardon me. So I actually I went through my sweater quantities of yarn and just went through pattern after pattern after pattern. And after some kind of misses, because I tried a different yarn and a couple different patterns with it, I ended up going to yet another yarn choice and another pattern choice, and I ended up casting on, for my second attempt at the So Faded by Andrea Mowry. So if you've been watching for a while, you know that I did try this pattern a few months back, and in some quite variegated skeins, and I just wasn't happy with how it was turning out, and so I frogged it. But in the meantime, I had bought some yarn with this project in mind. So I'm just trying to find it. So I had bought a couple of different skeins of Malabrigo. Now, I don't know if you say it Machita or Makita. It's CH in the middle there, but this one is 889 Musas, and this is 883 Sherry. And I thought those two faded really well into each other. And then at the time, I had bought a third skein that I later had second thoughts about, but I had this skein of Madeline Tosh Merino Light in my stash. It is name is Odyssey. And I liked how these looked. Now, yes, they're all quite close, and that's what I decided I really wanted, was a very subtle fade. And so if you put them this way, that's how I am knitting them up. This is from the top, the middle to the bottom. And especially the last two, there won't be tons and tons of a difference. And I like that idea of having the purple more at the top, and then having the body and the bulk of the sleeves in the dark blue. So I ended up casting this on Saturday, I think. And I've got actually quite a bit done. So there's the beginnings. So last time I made a couple of alterations, and this time I'm basically knitting the pattern as written, except I'm adding waist shaping. So I've done this garter stitch sleeve cap, and after that you switch to stockinette, and I've done the neckline as written, and you can see that I have started to work in the second skein. So I changed skeins just after I separated for the body and sleeves, and you can see that it blended in really well here. It's a very nice subtle fade, and now the majority is this blue. Now that I'm working in the round stockinette with only doing waist decreases every so many rows, this has become a really easy project to work on, and I've calculated out on paper exactly where to do the waist shaping and where to begin the third color, and so this has just been a really easy project to work on. So I've got quite a bit done, as you can see, considering it's a fingering weight sweater. So I have it on the 2 needles because I just tried it on. I had tried it on before I separated for the body and sleeves, and now that I've done a couple of decreases for the waist shaping, I decided to try it on again, and it's fitting very nicely, so I have very high hopes for this project. So there's number 1. Now, I thought I would actually have quite a long time to work on this sweater before my yarn arrived from England, but that wasn't the case. It actually showed up here on Monday. Yeah, Monday. So then it becomes you're torn. Do I keep working on this, or do I go back to my Birkin, or do I cast on my new cardigan? And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. So I have been working on this, but I did pick up my Birkin again. So Birkin by Caitlin Hunter, very popular pattern out there right now. And if you've watched the podcast, you'll know that I actually haven't taken this out yet. I've knit the yoke all together once, and devised a way of ending the yoke early by casting off or separating for the sleeves in the middle of this motif. But I concluded that this yoke was not big enough around, and I needed to go up to the next size. So I am intending on frogging this to get this yarn back, because I'm going to need it. So this is the color that, when I knit this, I decided if I was going to reknit it, what I would do is pick a more contrasting color for these pink flowers, because they just don't show up really well. And I also decided I wasn't going to knit the baubles. So I ordered this color. It's Blacker Swan Falkland Islands wool. And this is the Mountain Berry colorway. Just so you know, this is, the gray is Stone, this is Tussock, this greeny yellow is Balsam Bog, and this is Pale Lavender. So those are all the colors that are going into it. So I have begun to add in the new color. Let's see if I can. I'm in the middle of a row. I shouldn't have left it, but there you can see the Mountain Berry definitely stands out more. And I also think that it helps this Balsam Bog color also stand out more, just because there's more of a contrast between it and the the pink in there is tea rose, I think. So I have just begun, I think I've got a couple rows here, just begun to add in the pale lavender for the middle set of flowers. And what I'm planning to do is, instead of doing this balsam bog for the center of the flowers, I'm going to use that pale pink for them, just to use a little bit of that color and just to mix things up a little bit. So yeah, definitely I think that this color choice is better. It's makes it more noticeable. It remains to be seen whether this experiment is going to work. If, as I explained a week or two ago, my plan is to knit the medium-sized yoke, and then instead of increasing after this row, like you're supposed to for the medium, I'm going to not increase. And so I'll have it the same amount of stitches. I'll have actually the stitches for the body and the sleeves will fall somewhere between a size small and a size medium. And I hope that will be the solution to making this fit. I watched yet another podcast, a podcaster who has knit this and is having issues with the yoke. So it remains to be seen whether or not my plans will work, but it's worth a try. I'm also finding this time around knitting the 3 colors in a row is going much more smoothly. I've got a system, so I hold my main color of the stone in my right hand, and then I'm holding the 2 contrasting colors in my left hand, and I'm consistently keeping one on top of the other, so that my mountain berry and my mountain berry will always be, when I'm knitting, will also always be underneath the balsam bog. So it's got more rhythm to it. It's definitely knitting up well. So yeah, I'm hopeful that try number 2 will work, but we'll know soon enough. What I will do is do the yoke, separate for the sleeves and body as I did here, and knit about 1 inch, and then I'll put the other one on waste yarn and block it, and then see how it sits on my body. And I'm hoping it will sit properly, and then I will continue. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to forget this project, and I'll reclaim the yarn and do a more just do another pattern that I have more faith in, that has sort of more traditional increasing for this yoke area than this one does. So hopefully, maybe by next week, I don't know. There's lots coming up this week, so I don't know how far I'll get on this, but cross your fingers that it all goes well. And yeah, just cross fingers. So the other yarn that I had ordered was more Blacker Swan, but this time in the DK weight, and this is color Dolphin, this really nice neutral gray. And my printing is not very good, but I want to make this Angelus Novus cardigan by Renee Callahan. Danny of Little Bobbins Knits had knit this. She actually has recently knit a second one for her mom and just raves about this pattern. I've always liked how it looks on her, so I thought this would be a really good versatile cardigan to own. And it's really fun because what you do is you knit it like a shawl. So this bottom edge is like knitting, you knit it from the bottom up. So where these V-shaped, or in this case inverted V lace pattern, this is like knitting a big triangular shawl. And so you begin here and you work your way up and then add your sleeves in. So I did get going on that yesterday. I couldn't resist casting on. Well, honestly, I had was finding my hands a bit painful from working on the Birkin. I had worked on it quite a bit the night before, and then I wanted something more than just plain stockinette, like the so faded, and so I decided to cast this on so I would have another alternative for projects. So you can see I got that much done, and it's on big needles. Like, pattern calls for 5.5 millimeter. I am using these wooden ones. I think these are the Dreams. Is it Knitter's Pride Dreams? I don't use wooden needles very often, but I did a bit of swatching and I found that my gauge was just a little bit bigger with these wooden needles than my normal, which ones do I use? The Chaogu lace interchangeables. And I wanted this just to be a little bit looser. I didn't want to go up to the 5.5 millimeter that the pattern called for. I felt that would be too loose, but this gave me just a little bit looser gauge. So I'm quite enjoying working on them. And yeah, there's the beginning of the bottom. I guess this will be the center back at the bottom, and then be working up this way. It's quite a simple, kind of a wavy lace pattern, and it is easy to follow on the chart, easy to follow on the pattern. So yeah, and it looks like it's going to knit up pretty fast. I wasn't expecting that because, you know, you think it's a big sweater and it's only DK weight, but then you realize that actually the yarn itself is a little bit heavier than a regular DK, and it is knit on large needles, or larger than you would normally knit a DK weight sweater on. And so, yeah, it's coming along already quite well. So that's what I've been working on, and I will continue to be working on those 3 sweaters for a while. But what I like about it is that they offer different things. So the plain stockinette of the So Faded is great for if I'm talking to people or waking up in the morning, or watching something I don't have, you know, watching something, being able to pay attention to what I'm watching, not have to pay too much attention to my knitting. And then the Birkin with the color work is another challenge, and it's fun, but it takes more concentration. And then this lace one, again, takes more concentration, but it's also bigger needles and a different kind of yarn, and so it's a different knitting experience than the other 2. So I usually have lots of projects on the go, and I like variety. And so right now, even though it's 3 sweaters and what am I thinking, I feel like they all offer me something different at this time, and so that's a good thing. As far as what's coming up, we received some yarn information about the next socks in the Helen Stewart's Handmade Sock Society, and we know from the colorway that it's going to be based on magnolias. So that's the inspiration for this next pattern. So I need to go through my stash and find a suitable yarn for that. And then in her most recent newsletter, she also announced that she's going to do another mystery shawl knit along, 3 colors. And so wait to see if I'm not sure if this time we'll get a sense of what shape shawl it will be, but if it's, well, chances are no matter what shape it is, I will probably join in that, because I always enjoy her shawls, and the mystery makes it kind of fun. And I don't have, other than my lace weight longest night shawl, I don't have any shawls that I'm working on right now, and so that's an appealing project. So lots of fun stuff coming up in the works, that's for sure, as far as knitting goes. As for what I'm reading, I finished listening to The Winter Sea by Susanna Kearsley, and I quite enjoyed that. I thought the author did a good job of ending the historical aspect of the novel. As I've explained before, it's like a story within a story that goes back and forth between modern times and the past. And so how she ended the historical aspect of the story, I thought was quite well done. I learned that there's a sequel to this book that picks up the story of one of the historical characters from the main character's novel. But I couldn't find it on Audible. So maybe it's not available in Canada as an audiobook. I'm not sure, but I'll track it down maybe on Kindle or the library or something. I would like to read the sequel because I did enjoy the initial book. I also finished the first of the Lord Peter Wimsey stories called Whose Body by Dorothy L. Sayers. I can't say I was too surprised at whodunit, but I enjoyed the story and look forward to reading more in the series. Right now I don't have anything on the go, although I do have a book that my friend lent me. It's called, I think it's called Still Alice. I can't remember the author's name, but my mom saw it when she was here, and she told me she'd read it for her book club. So I believe it has to do with Alzheimer's, so I'm not really sure. My friend just passed it along to me because she thought I'd like it. So I should maybe get onto that next so that I can get it back to her. But she obviously liked it enough to pass it along and recommend it. So we shall see. I'm trying to think. So my week has been pretty full. We won our game at curling on Thursday, and I had expected to curl for our again tomorrow night. It was supposed to be our last night in our league tomorrow night, but as it turned out, it's spring break here for a lot of schools, and a lot of the people who play in that league are teachers and connected somehow or other to the schools. So a lot of teams were canceling their games, and we found out, I actually just found out this morning, that ourselves and the other team we were supposed to be playing against were going to be the only two teams there, which didn't seem to make sense, and so we canceled too. So we're done with our regular curling. But my sister Allison, who I curl with, and her husband Stan, who my husband curls with in a men's league, the four of us are going to go into a bonspiel that's coming up in a few weeks. We have a new curling club that's being built, supposed to be ready for the fall, and so they're doing a big bonspiel to kind of close out the old building, say farewell to it. So the four of us are going to be a team and play in that bonspiel. So I've never done a bonspiel before, so I'm looking forward to it. A bonspiel, for those who don't know, it's basically a tournament. So yeah, that should be fun. We've curled with them before. Well, I curl with Allison every week, and Cameron curls with Stan, but we have spared on Allison and Stan's other team before. So I think the four of us will enjoy curling together. We get along really well and should be fun. So looking forward to that. Pardon me. Saturday was a beautiful, beautiful day here weather-wise. And my husband was off work for the weekend. And so we got some jobs done Saturday morning and early afternoon. And then we went for a nice long walk Saturday afternoon down by the river. We have a couple of major rivers that run through our city. And on one of them, the smaller river of the two, the city's done a really good job setting up walking paths. So if you take it from one end to another, it's 9 kilometers and runs by the river. And then there's some other paths that sort of parallel it that you can kind of go off and, take a different path to get to the same destination. So we decided after we got going that we do like 5K and then turn around. excuse me. We somehow missed the 5K mark, but we turned off on to one of the paths that ran parallel and headed back in the direction we had come, and somehow we passed the 5K mark along there. So we knew we probably did about 11 kilometers round trip. And we kind of walked fast, nice brisk walk on the first half, and then we took our time coming back. So we got really nice walk in. There are people out fishing. Saw just a few eagles. I thought we would see more. Saw a heron flying, some Canada geese along the way, some ducks. Yeah, it was nice. A lot of people out there, a lot of people walking their dogs or on bikes, and kids, and everyone was out taking advantage of the beautiful, beautiful weather. The next day, Sunday, it was actually my birthday, so we don't make big deal out of our birthdays as a rule. We might have a party for like the big ones, like 40 and 50, but this is just a in the middle somewhere birthday, so had no big plans other than to just take it easy for the most part. So my husband and son ended up making like bacon and eggs for breakfast. It's funny, I had to kind of tell my husband how to do things, but he did the cooking. He's not much of a cook, so I just provided some instruction. My son did the eggs because my husband doesn't eat eggs, so he has no clue how to cook them. And I had bought some little mini cupcakes the day before because I wanted to have cake with my breakfast. That is a birthday tradition for me. And so I did have a birthday cake with my breakfast. It's more like brunch because we never really did have lunch that day. Other than going out, we went over to this. My husband had to return some jeans to a store and look for some new ones, and so we went out for about an hour, I guess. Other than that, I stayed home and knit my little heart out, and then Cameron and I went out for dinner that night. And that was really nice. We don't go out for dinner that often, so it was lovely. Had a really nice dinner and had leftovers for the next day. So it was very nice. Had lots of phone calls and messages from friends and family, and from some of you viewers. So thank you very much for the birthday wishes. That I'm not a huge Facebook fan, other than seeing pictures of like my friends and relatives. That's the part of Facebook I really like, and I like the ease of communicating with my mom and siblings because we have like a closed group that we can chit chat back and forth in real time on. Other than that, mostly I'm not a big fan of Facebook, but on your birthday you always feel very loved because so many of your Facebook friends send you birthday messages. So I have to say that's a plus. And then just try to think. Oh, yesterday, Tuesday, Jessica, my daughter, phoned up in the morning and said that she and the two girls were going to go for a hike, and did I want to come? So her son is in karate camp all week. I guess that's going well. He's really enjoying that. His cousin's in it too, and then he's met up with a couple of friends from the house where they used to live because they moved last summer. So a couple of his old neighbors that he went to school with, he has also met up with at this karate class. So he's enjoying that. So the girls and I and Jessica went for, I think it's around 5K round trip. And it's in an area with, it's called Seven Sisters Trail. And the Seven Sisters refer to 7 Douglas fir trees, 3 of which are still standing. And it's, for those who don't know, Douglas fir are very tall, and they grow very, they're an evergreen, and they grow really big around their tree trunks. Anyway, it was a beautiful walk through the forest. Weather had started out kind of overcast, a little bit cool, but then the sun broke through, and it turned out to be actually quite a nice day yesterday too. So it's good, get out fresh air, enjoy the woods, walk in the woods. So I'm really glad she phoned up about that. It's been quite an exciting day here. I told you that my morning was interrupted by various things, and a couple of them were phone calls from my husband. Okay, I should back up a bit. So my husband works for an automotive parts company, and they run a biannual trip for their customers, a promotional trip. Their customers earn, through their purchases, earn value towards this trip. And most years it's been a cruise. This year, or this past fall, they booked a all-inclusive resort for the group. And when I'm talking about groups, I think the largest group we had was about 1,200 customers. So my husband and I have been very fortunate to go along on many of these trips as part of the staff that's there to host the customers. And the whole aim is to form relationships with your customers and socialize with them. So these happen every 2 years. And on the opposite years, the company rewards their 25 and 35-year employees by taking them on a cruise. And sometimes a cruise is a preview of the next customer trip, and other times it's completely different. So my husband actually, I think last January, completed his 25th year, but this is the year that the trip is being held. And so while we knew that the cruise was upcoming, we didn't know when it was going to be or where we were going, and we learned that news this morning. So the cruise is going to be mid-October for 2 weeks. And it's beginning in Barcelona and ending in Venice, with various stops in Italy and Croatia and Slovenia in between. So we have been to some of the places before, like Barcelona and Livorno and Monte Carlo, Rome, Sorrento. But we've never been to Venice or Croatia or Slovenia. And Croatia and Venice are two of the stops on the next customer cruise. And we're actually going to be on the same ship that we're going to be on for that customer cruise. But this is a staff one. I forget how many employees he said. I think 16 employees plus their spouses. And several members of the family that own the company. So yeah, it's very exciting. We've heard some really, really wonderful things about these staff trips, treated, first class all the way. And my husband's worked very hard, I have to say that, for, now going into 27 years. So I feel very just happy for him. He's definitely earned this honor, and I'm lucky enough to go along with him. So something definitely very exciting to look forward to this fall. And as a side note, because of these trips and because of other circumstances, I never am around here for the Knit City event that takes place in Vancouver, usually end of September, beginning of October. But because the cruise is not until mid-October, I'm actually going to be here and I can attend. That's taking place September 29th to 30th. So I'm very excited about that too. I'll get to go to Knit City this year. Other upcoming things, nothing quite as exciting as that, but this weekend we are babysitting the grandkids all weekend while our daughter and son-in-law go away for a couple of nights to celebrate their wedding anniversary. And so yeah, we'll go and stay at their place because they have a dog and a couple of cats, and it's a lot simpler to be there with the kids in their own beds, etc. And Jessica's actually going to be going to another fiber festival called Fibers West. I went last year. It was the same day as my birthday, And I assumed it was the same weekend again this year, but then she said, no, it's this coming weekend. And I wasn't planning to go anyway. I figure I've been spoiled enough lately with yarn purchases, but she'll have a good time, I'm sure. Speaking of, I meant to also show in my Blacker Yarns order, I also ordered these 2 colors of the 4-ply. And my intention is to knit some colorwork bits from it. This is actually a really close match to my winter jacket. And I'm thinking of some, I can't remember what they're called. There is like a bird themed mitt that I've seen that I like. But then when I started looking for it on Ravelry, I found there's lots of different bird themed mitts that are equally appealing. So I don't know exactly which pair I'll be knitting, but this is for a pair of colorwork mitts anyway. So that's a side note. Also coming up this weekend, I said our family doesn't make a huge deal out of birthdays as a rule, but my extended family, we do try and get together 3 times a year and celebrate our birthdays in bunches. So we're getting together at one of my sister's houses on Saturday to celebrate spring birthdays, which happens to be Cameron and myself. My sister that lives in Toronto is also has a spring birthday, but unfortunately she won't be here this year to celebrate it with us. Anyway, it's just a really good excuse to all get together and so besides that, not much going on. Well, that's not quite true. There's actually a lot going on, but it's not that interesting to you. So I'll spare you the details. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. Again, sorry, I think this episode's been kind of disconnected, but that's just my day today. So have yourselves a good week. We're going to be finishing curling season and getting into slow pitch season after the Easter weekend, and so in the next week or 2, my podcasting schedule will change. I will most likely record on Tuesdays or Thursdays, since fall will be on Wednesdays. But for now, I anticipate recording next Wednesday. We'll see how life goes, but take care until then. Happy knitting. Thank you as always for watching. I always appreciate your comments, feedback, etc. So huge thank you to you for that. So take care till next week, and I'll see you then.